Wah 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 wah. Hey
Ah, how are you,
yo!
Simon?
I'm doing good. How are you, Melissa?
I'm doing fantastic. Welcome to Dip a Toe, everyone.
The Dip and Toe
Happy
Show.
Hump Day!
Hump
Uh, I
day.
have to say, Simon, Daddy
Say it.
Mark, Zach, and Zay uh, gave us a little prayer before the show, which I'm going
Yeah,
to
let's
read.
read. Let's read that. Read that.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this gathering for Dip a Toe. Let's talk crypto. Grant wisdom to Simon, Melissa, and Brooke as they share insights. Protect everyone involved and guide our conversation. Can I get an amen? Huh?
Amen.
Thank you, Daddy Mark, Zach, and Zay. That's
Yeah, that's great.
fantastic. I love you. I love what a great way to start the show. We got Becky Forbes in the house. Miss Kita, how you
Kita
doing?
Kita.
Who else we got? The new mindset.
New
Megan's in the
mindset.
house. Thank you
Megan's in the
guys
house.
so much.
Eminem. Toasty.
Eminem, is we got Toasty in the house?
Yeah, Toast
Oh,
Man.
that's awesome. Hey
Yes, sir.
guys,
Greetings, greetings to
what a
all.
crazy week so far on this hump day. I'm like, oh my god. I told Simon I'm a little under the weather. Feeling a little under the weather today.
She
And
got that crypto flu.
I got the crypto flu.
Oh,
I keep fighting it off. We're supposed to have a really bad storm. It started, and so I brought my computer home. So I might be working from home tomorrow, which is like yay me. Except for there's nothing like feeling trapped in your house. When something like that happens, it's like, but what if I want to go
mm.
somewhere?
You better go now. I'll fill in the rest till you get back. you
Uh,
better, you better DoorDash it or Uber Eat it or Instacart that stuff like pronto.
exactly. Well, I
I'm sorry.
stopped and
I'm
got
sorry.
milk.
You got that meal.
I got that milk. I got that milk from my drinks. My
Got
drink.
that milky bevy.
Huh?
I hear milk does the body good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know. So,
That was
like,
something from like the 90s. Milk does
huh?
that body good.
Oh. Huh?
um I'm sorry you got the crypto flu. I am just
Thank
coming
you.
out of that, and Melissa knows why I call it the crypto flu, but you dipper-toers don't know why I call it the crypto flu. It's because it resembles the cryptocurrency market. You're feeling bad. Oh God, I'm not feeling so good. And I'll say, oh, rally. Oh no, we're going back down. Oh man, I feel great. Hey, I'm feeling poof. Oh, I'm out. Crypto flu.
Oh, geez, Becky, 50 below. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not that cold. We're not that cold
I
here.
bet you those cookies, when eventually they get there, you could use them as hockey pucks.
Hey, Trissos, have a go.
T, what's good, bro?
Thank you for the 16 of you that are watching. If you would please like, share, and subscribe, share this out so we can get some more folks in here.
Folks.
Tonight's going to be an interesting show. It kind of came together. We entitled it "Crypto Crossroads: Legislation, Liberation, or Lockdown." So we're gonna dive deep into the dynamic world of cryptocurrencies and their intersection with the government policies that they're currently working on. We're going to explore the intricate dance between the innovation of digital assets and the regulatory frameworks that seek to govern them. We have a special guest tonight, Brooke Odyssey. She's a deep dive researcher. She's been on the Dip a Toe show before a couple of times. She was on our ladies' night and a couple of other panels that we had. But for those of you that aren't familiar with Brooke, she's a deep dive researcher in the world of finance and crypto, and she has a keen eye on macro and microeconomic trends, particularly the massive over-the-counter derivatives market. She's a vocal advocate for the utility of cryptocurrencies like XRP, HBAR, and XLM, and believes that they're key players in the future of digital assets and the payment rails. So Brooke's going to provide some unique insights into this potential, the paths of crypto regulation and hopefully offer us some educational and thought-provoking discussion, which I fully expect will be the case. There's so much going on with that, and we were talking the other day, she and I, and it was like, this is going to be a good show. there's so much going on. So why don't we get Brooke in here?
Bring her in. I was just gonna say, let's go.
Get it. Hello, Brooke. Got it. How are you this evening? Happy Wednesday.
Thank you. Happy Wednesday. We are iced in here in Oklahoma.
Oh, you're iced in, dude?
Yeah.
How much in? Do you got like an inch of ice? Because we sometimes get that in my neck of the woods, so to speak.
A little over a quarter of an inch. There's like a layer of sleet with like a layer of rain, like frozen rain over the top, so you can like see the individual like sleet pellets, and then there's a layer of ice. It's lovely. It's great. I'm at home with the kids again.
You're like, I don't have to go nowhere.
I'm not a homeschool mom. Everyone assumes since I have a little farm that I like homeschool my kids.
You're like, no, don't do that.
No, so I'm going crazy.
Let's go that way.
You two are the first two people I've talked to outside of these walls in a very long time. So thank you for having me on here.
Well, welcome to Dip a Toe. That's fantastic. We're happy to have you.
So on the on your iced in, do you have any trees next to you, like close to you?
Not close to us, around us.
Oh man, because sometimes if it's just right, the trees will get iced over. It looks really cool, but if you got some wind that comes through too, it's like epic, awesome pictures. And then like the tree breaks, and the power goes out, and then there's other things. But yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, tonight's topic is going to be interesting. I was telling Simon, you and I were talking the other day, and you mentioned the Ondo Summit. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The Ondo Summit, and when I said, wanted to do a show regarding crypto and the regulations and the pros and the cons of each. And then, you mentioned that Ondo Summit and the timing of it with the recent, what did you call that? The presentation of all of are they the crypto czars?
Last week? The beginning of last week, the crypto czar came together with a bunch of different departments, their chairman, which he had like the chairman of the agriculture department, all of these people walking out on stage with the crypto czar. And so we are going to see multiple industries affected and touched by this technology. So it wasn't surprising to me at all, like, to see that, but it was very exciting to see that, because that signaled a very like a starting point for, I think, the legacy traditional or the TradFi financial institutions to be like, okay, let's go. So very interestingly enough, they had the Ondo Summit, and every big name was in that room in terms of traditional finance, and a lot of huge players in the digital asset space. And so they were talking things that I was talking about 4 years ago, getting made fun of, saying that will never happen, like coming out of their mouths. And it has been a very fun few weeks and months, because it's been a kind of I told you so type of time for a bunch of us who are watching this come to the forefront of America and our legacy financial systems. So
it's pretty awesome that those of us that have been following this for several years, in where we've speculated and said this and that's going to happen, and they're going to catch the fraudsters, and all these things, and people laughing at us, like you say, and to see it come into fruition is really amazing. um, but then of course, with that, you've got there's just so many things involved, right, that are going to happen. And you were a perfect person to have on the show, given your history, and knowledge of our current financial system and how that came to be, where most of us, we kind of were just corralled into it. We didn't know any better. Most of us didn't even really realize what money is, and where it comes from. The concept of, grow, it might as well grow on freaking trees, right? I mean,
it would be better if it did.
right, exactly. And so it's I thought you'd be a perfect person to talk about this, because I really feel like right now we have the perfect opportunity for us to stay engaged, educate ourselves, have our voices heard, because they are building out the new financial system and how it's going to work for everyone involved. And so when we come down to, I am an advocate for regulatory clarity, but I know that there's other folks that are like avidly against it, because they look at that as being against their freedom. And so I'm hoping that there's going to be a happy medium between the two. But I thought we would talk about some pros and cons of what it means for these legislators to get involved. I mean, it looks like a lot of the old ones are going to be they're getting out of the government, and we've got some fresh faces in there. What do you think about that, in terms of being hopeful that the folks that are currently in charge with this administration being able to put some real solid legislation proposals in there that are going to affect the crypto digital asset space?
So I will say that I'm a lot more hopeful than I was a few months ago, where things really looked unsure because we didn't know who possibly that next administration, who they would be. And both candidates would have treated, and their administrations, the people who they put into place, including our friend Gary Gensler, would have stuck around a lot longer, terrorizing the place. Elizabeth Warren would be emboldened in all of this. We would have, I thought it was very interesting. We had a fabulous interview done by Joe Rogan and the Andreessen guy. I encourage everyone to go listen to him, because he said he was in rooms with the Biden administration, where they were talking. They were telling fintech companies, don't even build. Don't we have the one we picked the ones that we wanted.
Wait.
A whole documentary that
you're saying that Andreessen, was it Andreessen Horowitz?
Yeah.
Or Mark Andreessen. Is that Mark Andreessen?
Yes,
he was in. He had meetings with the Biden administration, and they said, "Do not build. We already have picked the winner."
Oh yeah, and he was on Joe Rogan's an episode of Joe Rogan where he talked about that. And is that not what we saw with rigged from the start? It substantiates what he was saying in that interview, that had this administration taken off, they would have picked and choose who would have controlled this future system. So I'm very pleased that we at least have a hope for a lot more independent, freedom minded administration, because this technology is extremely powerful. Whenever you're talking about changing a money system, a monetary system, this is a tool. This technology is a tool, and it can be used in ways that benefit us and ways that harm us. It's just, how, again, we are at the very beginning of this legislation, and the attitude and the amount of digital like access that or permissions, I guess, that they have and do not have with our IDs. So there's a lot of conversations to have, and this time, this era, this new golden era, it truly is. We are seeing the dawning of it. So
they're giving all kinds of hints with regarding that golden age, the golden era. What I find so fascinating over the past several years is there's so many riddlers. No matter what space you're dipping your toe in, there's a flavor for every character, for every personality, to get to pique your interest just a little bit, and maybe have a little bit of fun with it. I want to say hello to Niall of IMU TV, guys.
Yo, hello, mate.
We and Crawfish and Awesome Amy and Tiara's in the house, and Fizzy. You guys, thank you so much for coming. We're I don't know if you know this, Brooke, but Dip a Toe Show is the first show, crypto education show that is going up on the IMU TV website. And so you will be able to watch the Dip a Toe Show from your Hulu or Amazon Fire TV and soon to be Apple TV. So we're super excited and delighted that they chose our show to be on there. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
That's huge. Yay.
Awesome.
It's because, and that means you're gonna be on TV too, Brooke. Surprise. It's awesome. It's because we have I tell you guys, we've got big plans for this Dip a Toe show, and mark my words, we're in communications with Easy A, the brothers that created the Easy A app, who seem to be highly connected to lots of different people, and they're currently in Hong Kong, I believe. And they were going to come on. They were going to come on tonight, actually, but had to reschedule. And so we're kind of looking at them in sometime in March. But we have a lot of cool people lined up to come on the show, and we're just excited to bring as many cool, unique people to the Dip a Toe Show as we possibly can.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know how hard it is. Man, this stuff is time consuming, getting people on the back end work of what you guys do and what you see a bunch of people in the community do. I just want to give major props, because it's even harder to be consistent at it, and you guys are so very deserving. So happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Take a bow, Melissa. Take a bow.
Yes,
take a bow now.
We're getting there. We're doing it. Well, so let's get back to this this topic at hand. I thought we would start with maybe some of the positives, or I don't know.
Honestly,
so let's see the pros associated with government involvement in cryptocurrencies, based on, them coming up with legislation and on all of that, because right now it's kind of been, what do they say, that the Wild West, like it came out, it was the Wild West. And then you had them deciding that with the SEC, they started going after people and, saying, well, you didn't register, you didn't sign up as this. But then, come to find out, oh, guess what, guys, we never even had anything, no framework in place for you to even register for anything. There was like nothing for them to register to or for. So, it's like now we're in an era, in a time with this administration where we're going to really start to see some of these things happening kind of quickly. And so, what are your thoughts on, one of the positives would be this regulatory clarity. What do you think about that?
So honestly, the time to circumvent governments and regulation coming in has already passed. That's the bad news I have for a lot of people who really like wanted to take this new way of doing money and really truly make it decentralized. That is the hub of nation states, like the power. Uh, you don't see other countries even tiptoeing away from the US dollar without major repercussions. It was no mistake. It's very interesting how strong the Trump administration came in and said if you're a country and you're looking to use something other than the dollar, then tariff, like it's a very big thing you're talking about here. So all of that to say, then I ultimately knew that the perfect use case for blockchain technology and obviously crypto is the traditional financial system. And that is a very, very, very complex system. So even right now, you hear and you see in all this fighting going on between because we're even looking at a government reserve of Bitcoin or digital assets, and you just saw people lose their head because oh my gosh, it's another something other than Bitcoin, and oh my, like where have those people been for like
Exactly.
and I don't understand how people can get so angry or see how this can be the only one or only thing, because this payment system is so complex. It's a complete infrastructure, and not one protocol can even do it all. So I think that just kind of narrative, the drama that we're seeing in the space is like actually like really unnecessary if you look at what governments, what these traditional banks with all of their, or your central banks with all across the world running different test, protocols and all of these agreements happening. They are building a massive infrastructure,
Yes, they
and
are.
multiple technologies are going to come in. But before the legacy system can come in, they have to know the rules of the road, which, like you said, we had the regime of Gary Gensler saying, come in and register with us. Well, what are the rules? We don't know, but you're breaking them and we're going to sue you. So we're moved past that. So right now we need to know what are these digital assets? Some of them are going to be deemed commodities. Okay, what's the test for it to be a commodity or a digital asset? We obviously know that given the case that we have been going through with the Ripple Law case, we know that XRP is not a security. So will that be like case law? So it's a very bullish sign, because the name of the game in the digital asset space is adoption. So if you want your protocol or whatever digital asset crypto you're invested in, you want it to be most adopted. You want it to have a massive use case. You want it to be solving problems and frictions in the system. And the better a technology, a cryptocurrency or blockchain fintech company can do that, and the more it's adopted, the more successful it will be.
One of the things, I did watch the entire Ondo summit that was from a couple of days ago, that you pointed me to, and I was very glad you did. They had several wonderful segments, and one thing that they mentioned, several of them were referencing, was the taxonomy that needs to be put into place in like you're saying, classifying and describing each of these assets and figuring out like what is it, because as we know in crypto, an NFT is a thing, as we were talking the other day, and it can be many different things, right? And so having proper descriptions for things. And the other point that Sandy Call, I think her name is, and she's from Franklin Templeton, and she was in the segment tokenized money market funds. That was my favorite one. She was a big standout for me during that conference. Listening to her, super intelligent lady, but she was talking about the fact that I think it was her anyway. Our system is built right now on accounts. And we're moving to a system where things are going to be in wallets. And she was explaining, or somebody was explaining, the complexity that involves of moving our current system that we have right now with accounts. And being in accounting, I totally get what she was saying, because things are classed to a specific account.
Yep.
And now there's going to be wallets that are going to hold different types of assets, and you're going to want to separate them based on the class of asset that's in that wallet. And your wallet is going to hold several different types of things. One of them could be your identity, your entire medical identity, that sort of stuff. And so they were just mentioning, like, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. When but we are obviously farther down the road than we were in 2017, 2018. But for some folks that think that things are going to just boom, it's going to happen and everything's going to be transitioned over instantly. No, that's not the way things are going. But what are your thoughts on the taxonomy portion of that, and the difference between going from accounts to wallets?
It's a pretty interesting concept, because what you're talking about when you're talking about wallets is the extremely siloed account. So right now, the current system and the frictions that happened because all of these transactions, all of these assets, they happen in siloed or separate accounts. And then you have all these middlemen who then, they funnel in and they settle, and it's a whole ecosystem too. So you have the complexity of a system coming together like that. They call it the last mile. Whenever you're listening to the Ondo Summit, did you ever hear them reference the last mile?
Yeah, I think I did. Hear them reference that.
Because so the last mile, you're wanting to think about everything that we have to do with our wallets right now, or all the different types of wallets. And so now you're talking about legacy entities regulated for banking coming in and being able to custody this. They need to know, how all of this lays. But the infrastructure that's being built has to bridge to these siloed systems. Your account right now in the banking system is a siloed system. It's like the ultimate siloed system. And so it's this technology that moving it from an account to a wallet will allow the technology to tap into it and allow you to no longer be siloed into a broader financial system. So it's a very big move. It's a big shift. Thinking about an account that's siloed, and I have to go through all of these intermediaries, or I have now a digital wallet that holds private information. You mentioned your digital ID or your hospital accounts. Now imagine a wallet that's set up that holds these certain accounts, like your digital ID or your medical information. Think about if a pharmaceutical company needs your medical information. Well, now you have a wallet, and you can say, you can have these tests, whatever, but how about you pay me a little bit for it? So you're even talking about whenever you hold
Mm-hmm.
certain assets or certain IDs in these wallets, it's just saying that technology can now tap in and that wallet makes you a less siloed person. We can only hope in this regulatory type of transition that we actually are the ones that get to choose who does and who does not see our private information or what can see into our wallets. So we're
I
also kind of there that we have to be very careful about this.
I was listening to a boring healthcare conference call, and they were talking about digital identification, and they were making reference to 99% of the population have never seen their entire medical history file. And there's about 5 entities in the world, in the United States, that has access to all of your information. There is a file on every single one of us. But it is not, you can't, they don't communicate well in the, say, the healthcare field, where, you go to this doctor, to that doctor, they don't communicate. So like you're saying, they're siloed off. And so they're developing ways, working on digital ID identification, where you would be the owner of your information, right? And then, like you said, Brooke, you would then grant permission wherever you go for them to have access to it. And I'm assuming that it'd be like a temporary access, right? And so that whether it's something to do with, verifying that you're the person that needs that drug, or, that you're the person that's supposed to get that. And so, then you've got like the governmental waste and all these things, because that was what the title, it had to do with governmental waste in healthcare. And that's what they were addressing as being something that could really help with everybody having access to their own digital identification.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
So
sorry, it's all
no,
tied together though.
it does. So blockchain can solve so many things. In fact, the creator of Quant, um, he Gilbert Verdian actually created his own ISO standard, working for the
I did not know that.
government. Yeah, he was working for the London or the UK health department, because they're nationalized there. And he was seeing like, oh, there's this problem, all these siloed like systems. So he created an overledger like Quant that solves. It's an overledger, right? So it's this umbrella technology that can ultimately make siloed systems interoperable, and it's a layer that will help facilitate this. So it is these frictions in the healthcare system or the financial system that will drive the innovation in this technology. Did you listen to the entire summit?
I did.
Because here's another use case. Elon Musk was just in the Oval Office talking about how government employees get like retirement and how it's tracked. Did you see that?
Yeah, they have to go in the bay.
That?
They only what did they say? 10,000 can retire at one time, because they have to go down in the dungeon to put the file. Like,
imagine those contracts being on a blockchain, and those, that's where your digital ID would be very handy to tie into the system. And smart contracts can execute, what your payout is, how much it is. But that's a lot of infrastructure that you still have to build. And digitized documents is also a major technological leap in all of this. Like XDC, the whole trade industry is paper heavy laden. One of the biggest use cases and one of the biggest frictions and most expensive problems in the trade industry is the paper, because before, I think it was just a few years ago, the UK, which dictates the trade law, like they it used to be a law that you had to have a wet signature when trade happens. And so you would have a whole plane of contracts and paper take off and fly to port, go to legal, but it had to be signed off on. Now they have something called MLTER, MLTER, MLTER.
Yeah,
It's like the monologue. It is documents that now are digitized that now
you can electronically sign.
You can electronically sign, and the law had to change, and you saw that law. So you see that progression in that industry. That's going to have to happen in multiple industries, but we're right there. So.
Did you have your hand up, Simon, or were you just stretching? Were you stretching when you were doing this?
No. I had like this. I had this weird cramp, like start right here and went up into my armpit. I was like, "What?
Wait,
what?
That,
that's new. Don't you dare pass out on this show right now." I put it down.
Left side or right side?
Right side. We're good. We're good. It's the right side. Yeah, we're all right. yeah. Oh my gosh. I would agree that this technology plus the inefficiencies that we as a global society have had to endure, is really finally being able to come together. I watched a 30-minute snippet of the Ondu Summit, and there was some great things that were brought up in regards to the technology, and actually kind of circling way back around to the my coin is better than your coin. If we just did a little bit more research into, say, what one coin is about, well, these other ones really aren't going to be about that. And there's different economics. There's Keynesian and there's Austrian. Well, those actually have coins in this space right now that serve those ideologies and those purposes. But most of us don't know that because we haven't learned that stuff, right? And even like with in Audu, there was some like red flags for me in the little snippet I saw. Dude, the gentleman was saying Wall Street 2.0. I was like, oh, why did you even say it like that? It's a scam. I'm like, okay, but with transparency this time, right?
So think about the stock market.
Yeah.
It's so funny. This question, you guys can find me on TikTok a lot. I'm starting to be kind of emerge back over there.
Oh, nice.
There. Okay.
I'm dipping a toe.
Dipping a toe.
Slowly.
Let's go look.
And so you might see me up on a live, but I was on a live the other day and someone asked the question, well, I just don't understand, like, what's the difference between stocks and crypto? And I'm like, the stock market's going to be tokenized on the blockchain and have all these like payment rails whenever you go to sell the stock, and BlackRock has their whole, like, what are you talking about? It's this either or attitude whenever people approach this space, whether it's this token or that token, whenever you can be like, it can be that token and that token. Let's just say there is competition, because this is going to be a competitive space now that we don't have a government picking and choosing the winners. That's what you're hoping, capitalism.
Yeah.
And so let's just say you do have competition. How big is that market cap? And so then it's not that your token might not be successful. They can both be successful. They just might have different accounts, Exactly. And so it's this whole attitude of just a bunch of attitudes. Or stocks or gold, and it's just like, you really,
it's a distraction,
gold's gonna be tokenized.
I think I really do think that a lot of the stuff is to distract people. Um, let's first establish this. There's 80 people watching Dip a Toe tonight. Thank you. Welcome. Please like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate you coming to watch and coming to Dip a Toe. But we're not like most people, right? We do, I have come to accept the fact that I am kind of a different bird, right? My people, my family and friends are not quite into what I'm into, right? And so trying to get them to be interested in this type of stuff is like, nails on a chalkboard to them probably. And so it's real.
On a
it's
good
really,
day. On a good
but
day, it's nails
but I
on a
will.
chalkboard to them.
But the plea is, and Brooke, you know this just from the history that you know of our current financial structure and the way that the money was created and how they've kind of trapped us into it, and we don't even really realize that we fear right now. Most people fear what we already are living. We're already living under a surveillance state, and having our bank accounts shut off at the will of the bank, or not being banked at all because they don't like the kind of business that you have, or whatever it may be. And then there's the personalities that they want to start dipping their toe, and they might be a little bit they like the drama, right? And so you lap on to this fight that you see going on, and you pick a side, just like politics, right? Pick a side. They provide so many sides for us to pick so that we can remain in this perpetual fight with one another. And I always say, like, we have more in common than they want us to believe, and we're so much stronger when we're united and not divided on these types of things. And this is the time where they're building our new financial system right in front of our faces. And if we give it some attention, maybe this time, and I firmly do believe that we do have a better shot at having some voice in and some say, and based on the things that I see people building that are decentralized, we might not be so trapped. Those that are going to allow themselves to be trapped will be trapped, right? Just like they're trapped now. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think that we shouldn't underestimate the technology's capability to move from what we already are, a surveillance state. Like, our government has really abused power that they don't even have, for one thing. We just have to make sure that in this transition, they don't get even more. And when you're talking about reaching the last mile, you're talking about being able to control behavior at point of sale. When that digital ID can tap into, oh, this is Brooke, and she's a 36-year-old woman, she gets this amount of meat. Oh, she has $1 million, but that doesn't matter. She can't buy this. We're going to shut it off right there. I don't want to live in that world. And we need to be honest that, you know, they disguise all of this stuff as like, don't you want to help your planet? We have to be very careful that we don't relinquish control, like more of it that they shouldn't have. Like I said, I still think that education, and it's not a fear-based one, it's just, again, this is a tool. What can it do? How can it harm us? How do we put in legislation? How do we regulate it in a way that my freedoms, my liberties stay intact, if not more so? And I don't lose that. So that is a conversation to have, and a lot of people, they do come about it in a fear-based way, because ultimately you are talking about a progression of technology where ultimately it might end up there. Or there might be something that happens where, I'm going to try to teach my kids right, but it's like, oh, now we have to take this from you because this happened. And you see, and then you like, kind of like now how you slowly lose certain aspects of your freedom whenever crisis comes. So it's a lot. I don't have I can go both ways on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's, but that's good though. Okay. And that's something that actually uh, is relatable. I think more relatable to the crypto space than anything else that most of us have been aware of. Okay. And it's both this and that. Okay. It can be both. We don't have to. You can do what you want with your life. I'm choosing to learn both. How
Mhm.
can I use how which one is more useful or valuable over here to do these things in this
Mhm.
arena versus this arena? You know, they both are still arenas, like say sports, for instance. You have a football stadium, you have a baseball stadium, you have a basketball stadium, you have an ice hockey stadium, right? All different sports, all different uh, equipment, so to speak. The name of the game is the same. He or she who has the most points at the end of the buzzer wins. But there's different use cases there for those things. So learn if you learn these both sides and you can see both sides. I think really you're in a very good position that I think that I at least I know that I am becoming more aware of, and that is the wealth builders before me that have left information and beautiful breadcrumbs along their path, like their predecessors before them. Um, they come from the perspective of if you know what's going on, you'll know what to do. And you know
Yeah.
how to take advantage and navigate all everything that you're in or that's going on. So even though this technology could inevitably lead us to XYZ world that,
Yeah.
maybe we're not a fan of. Okay, great. But if you know we are going to XYZ world and you can't stop the train, but you're on the train, well, take
Learn.
advantage. You're learn,
Learn, baby, learn.
learn, baby,
Have
learn.
you don't the future in the upcoming future, you want more options.
Right?
You
Options,
think
options,
of
options, options.
think about options. I have a homestead for that very thing. It gets too weird out there. They want me to be put a
Right.
chip in me or something, or if I don't, I can't. Great, okay. Hopefully they let me keep my farm, um, type of thing. So yeah, but I can't stop it. I don't control it. I can just control how I handle it. But knowing this information in advance
Yep.
is
It's there.
you're so lucky.
They're letting us know, and it's we all have a choice in what we choose to give our attention to. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. I say it all the time. And this is we're living in the most awesome time of my lifetime with incredible opportunities in front of us. And like you're saying, if you take the time to learn about this, and I realize not everybody is going to feel comfortable with um, having self custodying their own wallets and assets and that sort of thing, right? It's not for everybody, but you should at least learn about it because, it's kind of like, I mean, this is way like different things, but back in the day, we all learned cursive, right? We all knew how to write cursive. We know. Wait. I don't know what science doing. We all knew cursive, and we could read, the Declaration of Independence and all of our historical documents. They're written in cursive. Well, now kids aren't being taught cursive. They're not going to be able to read those documents and know what they say. They're going to have to rely on someone else to read them to them, right? Same thing with this. If you don't understand what's happening, have the concept of how this is being built, just having an idea of how it's being built, you're going to be corralled into the packages that they're making for you, right? And the majority of the population are going to go that route. We are the ones that are educating ourselves and trying to make sure that we have a voice in the regulation and standards that are being brought up now, and getting a real understanding so that things are not slipped in under our noses,
Right.
which is what happened, I feel like, with the last financial system or the current financial system. We were just gave a bag of shit and told us that this is what we do. This is your life now. And then we taught our children not knowing, and this is how it is, and our life doesn't have to be this way. And so, getting back to like pros and cons with regulatory clarity, the government involvement in the cryptocurrencies, I do think that we need regulatory clarity and the standardization, to where there are some clear regulations that are going to define what cryptocurrencies are, how they can be used, how they should be treated legally, so that it will reduce the ambiguity. It won't be ambiguous as to what the hell we're talking about here. And it's going to make it easier for anybody, a business that's creating a project, that individuals wanting to interact with those without fear of getting sued by the SEC and saying you broke the law when you didn't even know there was a law there, or there wasn't a law there. So
Yeah.
I think that as a pro to that, it's better to know, because then at least there's something for us to fall back on as a consumer, as a business owner, as a builder. What are the rules of the road type
Yeah, what
thing?
are the rules of the road? And once you get the rules of the road, think about what that means. So we can talk about whether, yes, there is some drawback as opposed to the original technology being decentralized, escaping the banking system, but that's not going to happen. So now we're over here. And look at the opportunity that regulation will unlock, because now you have institutions. One of the biggest use cases with this technology is revamping the financial system. And so that means ETFs. That means the future opportunities. In that Ondo Summit, did you hear them talk about what they were excited about? One of them talked about taking um, things that don't give you yield, and now you can get yields.
Yeah, just by
Man,
just be, but like Rosemary was saying, like, hearing that people are going to be using crypto and they don't even know it. It's going to be happening
yes.
in the background just by
Yep.
being part of that particular institution, having your money with that institution. Instead of it costing you money, you're going to make yield off of whatever you're holding in your wallet. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, even so, they were talking about, so taking, she said, and I'm not a physicist or whoever does
Yeah,
kinetic energy. She talked
yeah, I
about
know.
taking it from,
Yeah,
and then I know what kinetic energy is. That's one that, because whenever
yeah,
you're like lighting a light bulb and you're
yeah.
riding a bike type of thing, that's the kinetic energy. So you're taking something that doesn't have energy, that doesn't give you a yield, that you
No.
can't necessarily. So think about your home equity. It's factored into your net worth. It's very hard at times to borrow against it. But what if you could gain yield off of the equity that you gain in your house? That's that's a major shift. That's a major opportunity. And if you're early in on this game, on this transition,
Right.
you can get those assets that give you yield. What is yield? You could literally structure this in a way in your portfolio with these digital assets that will give you residual income, passive income. We have to realize that these are assets. This is also technology. With assets depending on how they're framed, on how they're regulated, you can use to generate more wealth. You can use to utilize yield that's never been there before. In the same summit, the woman she was the woman on stage with David Schwartz, but she was literally talked about taking the kinetic energy and turning it in. She even talked about like because you had major financial institutions in that room, BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, just that was the place to be if you're in
Yeah.
TradFi type of place. She even said so even like the developers need to know what the issues are. That's where the traditional financial people come in. They can come in and say, we have this issue, this friction. And then we as an industry can work to solve that through innovation, because we are going to have to get it to that last mile, like you said, to where we don't even know that it's transacting in the background. So we're still in that building phase.
One thing that they were referencing, and again, why I think that we've got a ways to go, which is hopeful for those of us that are studying up on this. What they said there's a shortage of basically is you have your crypto people that are very fluent in cryptocurrencies. They understand the digital asset space and how to build these projects out. And then you have your traditional finance folks who know the ins and outs of the regulatory frameworks that are currently in place and the challenges with moving into the new. And there's very few people that understand both. There's very few of them that, if you're super strong in the TradFi, you don't understand the crypto and the DeFi aspect as much. And so they're really looking to educate and marry those two together so that you have people that really can understand how to create these this legal framework and the security and the transparency, all of these things. They need us. They need people like us, really. Because they really do. I'm looking like somebody I don't know everything, but I know a hell of a lot more than some of the people that probably work in your office, where it's
I can point you in the right direction.
Right. And this is where we all come in as a force. And there's so many of us out there. And that's why I love the show. We got 155 people watching, you guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for coming to Dip a Toe. But what I want to say is there's so many of us out there in this crypto universe, right? And some of us are quiet and some of us are loud. Recognize how unique you are and how special you are, because they were saying that on this Ondo summit, there's not a lot of people that have the depth knowledge of this digital asset space. And so you could really turn yourself into an asset no matter what company you work for, as they're bridging us over into this new system. Having somebody that understands what the hell they're talking about is key, right? But until we get those married, until we get those kind of together, I think things are a little bit slow. And so when they're creating these task force like this crypto, or I don't remember what it's called now, but when they're forming these, we need to make sure that they're using people that know what the hell they're talking about, because we've all seen the people that come up on these hearings and they don't seem like they know their ass from a hole in the ground. when it comes, sorry, pardon my French, but I'm saying like, there's
So
people
true.
that is like, you don't really understand what you're even talking about. You actually look silly with what you're saying. And then you have people that are really overly specific. And so anyway, I'm just like, we're in a unique position, all of us. I mean, someone like Simon walking into a business that is thinking about dipping their toe, even though they're going to use a third party to bridge their company, into the DeFi arena, right? It's still going to be super helpful to have somebody that knows what they're talking about, because otherwise you're blindly trusting. And that's what they also talked about there, is that we have to get that trust, because even though we're going to more of a trustless system, a decentralized system, we have to have people understand and trust the new trustless system. What does it mean? What does this digital identity mean for me holding my stuff? Like, who else is going to have access to it? Like, how does it work? All of these types of things need to be answered. And then, so that's why when we're talking about regulatory clarity, and going through, it has to be legislated too. It can't just be executive order stuff. We cannot build our financial system or go forward on executive orders only. So,
well, we did with this one.
right?
We have since 1971 with Nick.
Can I get an amen?
The overnight and a temporary executive order
that we just overlooked.
It's still temporary. I mean, how long is temporary or transitory, as they like to say?
Right?
Permanent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Code for permanent. It's like you keep using that word, but I'm pretty sure you don't understand what it means.
I never used transitory until I started hearing it, and I was like, oh gosh, I hate that word.
They were wrong.
They were way wrong. What about Simon? What do you got? I've been talking a lot. I still want to talk on some of these positives before we hit the negatives. But I know you got a lot to say, so you're muted, I think.
There we go. Sorry about that. How about that? Is that better?
Were you mocking? Wait. I just have to ask you a question. Were you mocking me when I was talking earlier? Were you making fun of me?
No.
I was like, can they not hear
transitory.
me?
It was transitory. I was like, yeah, that one's a good one. What did it do before? For all the knows that know that video, don't laugh at that. Positive things. Okay, now Melissa, you know very much well where I stand on an officialdom telling me what I can and cannot do. Okay, I don't like that. Nobody else likes that. That's who we are as humans. On the other side of that, giving my current path that I'm on and have been on for quite some time, there are two worlds that we live in: the real and the corporate. Corporate has to have legislation, regulation, rules of engagement. They have to have it. And they have to have clarity, not so much for us, but for them. We do benefit from that clarity because we go, okay, cool. Now we know their rules that they have to abide by. So now I know what I have to do. So I think that's good. I do agree with Melissa though. Man, watching some of these hearings, I'm like, where are like the people, my fellow cryptopians in the room going, what? No, that's no, that's not how it works. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just telling you that's not how it works. Where is that? Now we definitely probably should just fly to DC and have a camp and show up. Some of these other good things that are positives from the oversight is the window of opportunity that we get. This moment opportunity that we have, what seems like an administration and governing body, at least in our jurisdiction here in the United States, that is actually willing to listen. That's willing to go, what do you guys want? What do you guys need? And and the reason how, in my opinion, how they kind of finally bent the knee to that is because the rest of the world adoption is happening, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
sovereign nations, the institutions at the global level, they started taking positions. So we have to take a position just
Mm-hmm.
out of response. And so
Well, and
now,
it's
go ahead.
yeah. No, it and there's also a benefit. We talk a lot about how the United States is possibly behind, but we can also look at that as there's advantages to being a first mover. There's also
Yes.
advantages to being a second mover and
Yep.
sometimes a third mover.
Yeah.
So sometimes
Yeah.
if you are the like the leading financial, you know, system of the planet, you might not want to be the test pilot for a system. So,
No, no. You might not be. You don't want to be proof of concept after take number 45.
yeah, so you might want to have some smaller, like, test net type of things. So I think that that's kind of a way to also look at it.
Absolutely. And that kind of. I mean, I know it's not something of the topic of tonight, but even though we are moving at breakneck speeds with this technology, the implementation of this technology and technologies, the development of new adaptations of this technology is going at breakneck speeds.
Yep.
The implementing it slash adoption of it is still just going to take time because of business
Yep.
well, of business. That's government business, or that's just global economical business. Companies need time to shift. They can't do it like all three of us can do. How
Hmm.
much money do we got? That much. Okay, boom, bah. All right, it's done. No, they can't do that. Their system is they have a bigger system, a lot more variables to consider, and they have a lot more rules to follow with the current system they're in.
Yep.
So when when I think about the regulation, the clarity, all those things that at an individual level we don't initially like personally. Um, I totally see the benefit to these companies that they really need this,
They
and
have
You
I
to.
will
do
have to.
business. Yeah, yeah, have to.
You
I'm
will
in a
have to.
situation where I threw out a suggestion that turned into education. Then now is, well, Simon, can you really help us do this and
Yeah.
get this over to this new technology? Okay, sure. I'll give it a shot. Yeah, I'll
I'll
give
give
it
her
the
a
old
go.
college.
The
I'm gonna give
old
it the
college
old. I didn't go to
try.
college. Try. You about to see some stuff. I wouldn't look in the garage though. Just don't go in there. It's not that you're not welcome. I just don't think you'll understand. But
Use the guest bathroom.
I promise, when the garage door opens, you're gonna like what you see. I promise. I promise you that. You're gonna like it. You're gonna be able to use it, and you'll be able to modify as you go, with me or
Yes.
without me. Exactly.
Hmm.
I think I think that's great. A great opportunity for us that are even just, if this is your first day watching the Dipito show, you're just learning about digital assets, and you're in a whirlwind, or you are working at a company and your boss says, hey, you need to go to YouTube right now and find everything about this digital asset, cryptocurrency, stuff. I think it's a great opportunity for those of us that are in this space to again be the man or woman in that room, in those rooms,
Yeah.
aiding that. And the cool part about this is most of us don't have, you know, an agenda. We
Right.
just want to help. Go, hey, this is going to help
That's what I know. This is
me
what I
as a
learned.
user. This is what I know. This is, if you do this, you'll get messed up, which
Yep.
will mess them up. And if you mess them up, you're messed up twice, and there's no going back. So you have to, you got to play within these lines, lanes, etc. Um,
Yeah, it's fun because I sit there now, because I I research this. I'm a stay-at-home
Yeah, you
mom,
do. You're
homesteader.
brilliantly, by the way. Brilliantly,
That's
by the way, man. I love when you come on the show. You just speak
Thank
some
you.
you speak this awesome knowledge. The research you do comes out, but your delivery is like none other. It's very
I
rare
appreciate that.
how you deliver. Like if you had a seminar or a class, I would go to it because I'm like, I know I'm going to get something from your discussion. I
Well,
know
I
I am.
finally found something that I do for free that I would do for a job type of thing.
$50,000
Yeah.
a
This
meeting.
is
Yeah.
yeah. It's just it's hard. It's hard. It's a maybe it's self-limiting stuff. It's just like who is really going to listen to a stay-at-home mom goat farmer is what I like to call myself. And so at just some point for me, I think it's just going to be, showing the way. And at that point on the other end of this is where the opportunity is.
Yes, it
We're
is.
talking about adoption coming in. We're talking volatility is your friend whenever you're early. And so it's gonna ebb, it's gonna flow, but I think we're gonna see this trend upward. And then that volatility is gonna get less because the players are gonna be determined, the tokenomics are gonna start, this
Yes. Yep.
utility thing, and
Yep.
the opportunity. There will still be opportunity, a lot of opportunity, but people are just going to be waking up to that part. So
Yeah.
don't think
Yes.
of
Yeah.
it.
They're going to be waking up to XRP, the coin, or Ondu, the coin, where
Mhm.
those of us that have been in we're 3 classes or 3 years into the ledger or to the chain or what this project has done, currently is doing, and what their goals are and when we expect them to be rolled out.
Well,
Mhm.
That's
they might not even know. Like
They probably
again,
right.
won't. Yeah,
think
most
about
won't.
there will be ways that it touches their life, but you don't kind of like you don't need to see what happens behind the scenes right now
No.
whenever
Yeah,
something
don't look at the
settles.
garage.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Nobody
don't look at the
knows.
garage.
Nobody knows what happens on the back end when you're using your credit card or whether you're using your
right,
debit card or whatever. In
Yep.
fact, none of us even thought about it before.
right.
I mean,
They benefit, like people are going to benefit from the technology, but and they talked about this in that same summit. They have to get to a place where grandma doesn't have to have a hard wallet, doesn't have to do all that. The more hands off that the end user, those silent quote unquote accounts can be, that is just their world is faster and they know that, but they don't know the inner workings of it and they are still living, the life. They'll just keep doing that, much like the internet. Like this is
yeah,
very we saw this with the internet phase. There were certain phases of the internet and you had to have commerce come in and trust come in. How many people did you hear or did you say
yeah,
if you're old enough, I would never buy anything off the internet. I can't
right.
trust that.
I
So
wouldn't trust.
there's going to be those types of a progression, if you will, the psychology of adoption. But again, you're before all of that. So
Well, and
Yeah.
this is another pro with having regulatory clarity, the consumer protection aspect of it. So, with that, the security regulations can mandate security measures for exchanges and wallet providers that will protect consumers from hacks and theft. The transparency, regulatory bodies can require transparency in operations, which helps preventing scams and Ponzi schemes that have
how about
historically
us?
plagued it. Right?
How
Exactly.
about us actually saying now we have this technology, and if we educate people, did you hear about possible fraud happening in treasuries?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, I'm unpacking that right now.
yeah. I can't wait. We'll have to have you on the show
You know what?
deep dive into it, because that is a big thing. And so when we're talking about this whole transparency thing and everything's on the blockchain and tokenizing treasuries and all of that stuff, that means that is going to be on the blockchain, transparent.
I would love to, Brooke, for you to unpack that, but then let's bring an old cat that likes new things, Mr. Alan Staple. I know he has a full different perspective of bonds and treasuries and where that works. And man, I would love the two of you to kind of not go at it, against one another,
Fight.
but just on the topic. That'd be fine. Alan, if you're watching in your sauna, give me a call. Let's book it, Dano. Yeah, that'd be great to have you both on there, because Alan's where his knowledge has come from is just years as a yacht captain to billionaires and their families, so and he knows the walk and he talks the talk, and so he's always talked about bonds, and he explains bonds at a very great how do I want to say it? In a very great digestible manner for someone that doesn't know Bo Diddley about bonds, where you, Brooke, are able to do the same thing. Yeah. So unpack the treasuries and the fraud, and I'd love to hear Alan's perspective on that of how that had what did he see a couple of decades ago to where we're at now, and kind of get
what's the
potential? I saw this. Oh, Yep, that actually happened. Here it is right here. I would love to have that contrast. That would be great.
That would be fascinating. I'm trying to I would like to know what he saw so many years ago, because the stuff I'm unpacking with the treasuries.
Man, one campfire, maybe two. We could probably do
So, but this is an opportunity for us as taxpayers to be like, well, where are you spending my money?
Show us.
For my money, man.
Let me look at the ledger.
Yeah, and that conversation's going to have to be had. Like, how much are, and they're going to have, a certain level of privacy. But audits will be a lot easier. I'm saying, like, let's get to the bottom of a lot of this corruption. And whenever they said they found it in the treasuries, I was like starting that digging.
Well, you know what, Brooke? This is the thing that bothers me about the whole treasury thing, and people losing their mind over it. And I know we're not going to go overly political about it, because people shouldn't even be making this about politics. This is about the treasury not having adequate accounting records of where they're spending our money. Not only do they not have records, they don't have notes. They don't have it classified in any specific account. They cannot tell you where they spent the money. That is a problem. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican or you're a Libertarian or you don't vote or whatever. If you pay taxes and you're being told that the Treasury does not have adequate accounting records of how they're spending your money, you should be worried about that. You should be concerned, and you should be demanding transparency, because mark my words, if somebody comes knocking on your door at your business and you're trying to get a deduction on your tax return, and you cannot show just cause for the deduction that you took, they're going to deny you that deduction because you can't prove where you spent the money. There should be no double standard when it comes to our spending our tax dollars in the Treasury, period.
Exactly. Or that $600 that you didn't pay your share of. Like, come on. And we should be getting, like, angry farmers with pitchforks type of.
I'm seeing a narrative.
I know other farmers that would be all about that.
There's a lot of angry folks out posting a bunch of videos lately, and I'm like, I always feel like some of this stuff is kind of orchestrated, with people, or maybe it's just a chain reaction of this person went viral from, acting crazy on a 30-second video where they're, cussing and saying stuff. And I don't even think you need to go that route. What you do need to do is just give it some attention and say, not acceptable behavior, One other thing before we move on to like other positives, the final is the recourse, as far as having a legal pathway for recourse if you are wronged by the entities dealing in cryptocurrency or any of that. And that was something else we talked about at the Ondo summit. Was they were talking about, some of the how they were going after folks. But with, for just things that they didn't even have any backing to. They were just kind of not giving any kind of clarity, but going after different crypto things, and they calling everything a crypto crime and fraud. Basically what they were saying is fraud is fraud. They're going to continue to convict fraud and go after fraud, but there's a lot of entities out there that you're not even exchanging cryptocurrencies. They're using crypto in it. There's no crypto exchange, but they're using that and they're stealing your money. And so when it comes down to it, whether it is in crypto, digital assets, or fiat in traditional banking, fraud is fraud. And so once there is even more, I mean, the existing laws will cover you for that, but also establishing some kind of recourse for consumers so that they do have that pathway in case they're wronged by like substantial entities or whatever in having their money. Because, like you're saying, Brooke, if you have your money somewhere, you're able to earn yield and whatever. And like, are you going to even understand how you're earning the yield and if they're cheating you or not, right? There needs to be a standard in which these things are calculated so that a consumer of that product can then look it up and say, like, this is the standard for this type of thing, right?
Right. Or you also have legal recourse if, of course, hopefully the protocol is all legal. It's doing the thing and you've done your research, but if for some reason one of these regulated institutions does something, then you can, like you said, have recourse.
Who to call? Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah. And so
911 crypto.
So with the ETF, that's what makes it a lot easier. Once you're, and my parents are even telling me their retirement account at Fidelity, they have digital wallets that they're offering them. So that makes it even easier for, like my parents' age to invest, especially whenever the ETFs come in. And so that's adoption that you want to see for sure. What's very interesting, the live I was in yesterday, a man came up. He had listened to me 4 years back whenever I got started on TikTok. He was an OG follower, and I didn't know that he came up. He's like, "Hey, I've been listening to you for 4 years and
That's
just
awesome.
kind of following in the background." This is what happened to me last week. I called Fidelity because I got this note in the mail, and I forgot I had this retirement account, and I called them, like, "What is this about?" They're like, "Oh, that's just letting you know that this is the account and that account has been tokenized." And he's like, "Did you say tokenized?" And he's like, "So are they going to be tokenizing everything?" And he said she just like kind of laughed and,
That's awesome. Now, see, this is Fidelity, though. Fidelity's have been old players. Them and Franklin Templeton have been dealing with this for like years, 2017 or something, or maybe I don't even know how early. I mean, they've been 14 for Fidelity.
Fidelity's been mining Bitcoin since 14, so they've been in there. That's a known thing. We don't know when they first really plugged in their first miner or had just a small conversation, a leadership conversation. In my opinion, when you have a conversation about something and you made a decision to go into it, it's at that moment that you've been in. So I would
I
say
have
they
to,
probably
I
been
have
on
to
a little
tell you
longer.
something, like just a quick little thing on Fidelity is when I looked at my 401k, because of course I can't take my money out, right? And I only have access to certain assets that I can choose to diversify into. And like originally I did like the auto pick thing, do it for me option. And then I started really looking at it, and based off the companies that that I've researched, and Fidelity was one of them. I changed a lot of my things to Fidelity, the funds that Fidelity have, because I trust their judgment, knowing how far advanced they were in getting themselves into this digital asset space. And so I'm like, I put my money on them,
Well,
depending on my choices,
you know what we might see, and I think will be very interesting. They've been building, like you said, a use case. I think that they are probably a little bit further along than even that they want to let on.
Yep.
And they possibly think about the NDAs that Ripple has. In the
Do-do-do.
lawsuit, we had
Right.
over, what was it, 1,700 NDAs. That's a lot of you not talking about what's coming. So there might initially be like this slingshot type of we're further down the road, and this is happening, and this is
Surprise.
taking off, and this is the solution. This is who we're using. I think Ondo was kind of an example of that. Think about the building that Ondo had to do and the
Seriously.
back end for then the government to come out and say, we're all doing this, for then the next week, all the major players being in the room, having these discussions, talking about the future,
They're ready for us to hear about it, right, Brooke? Because
Yes.
I've been in crypto for many years now, and honestly, I dip my toes all over the place, and I can honestly say it, like I didn't know of Ondo. I didn't know of Ondo. Now it's coming in my circle, right? Now it's coming in my field of vision, where something, I knew about Fidelity and the World Liberty Financial. They came out of nowhere, right? Now, next thing you know, President Trump is the crypto president. He's got a crypto czar, and all these people ready to go. Oh, my kids, they have World Liberty Financial, and then next thing you know, you've got Ondo Finance that are now. I don't know if those of you watching Dip a Toe, there is kind of like a partnership going on between World Liberty Financial and Ondo Finance. I don't know if I'm saying that right. They're going to kind of undo, and they're undo.
I don't undo. I undo.
Undo, but their objective is to help onboard people into this space, and so now we've got you have President Trump, who has a huge base. If you just look at the amount of people that voted for him, right? Whether they like him or they don't like him, it doesn't matter. People voted for him, and it's a large population of the United States, and so people that really supported him listened to him, and so don't underestimate the people that support Trump and his family and think he can do no wrong and all of this kind of stuff, right? The fact that World Liberty Financial is partnering, that tells you something. There's something there. And then seeing the folks that they had at this summit, like you said, they were the all of the big players were involved there at that summit. And so, there's only like 300 people that watch that, Brooke. Like you, me, Simon are three of them. Right. We'll post it in the link. They'll post a link for you guys to watch it. I highly recommend watching this summit. There's several, it's cut up in little pieces, but man, it's worth your attention.
But that was great though. I'm so glad, because it's like, I could watch a little bit. Okay, I'm good. Okay, well, what that was great. But did you say only 3? Yeah, I need bite sizes. Like lunch is only 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm late all the time. but I'm also late back to shift too. Did you say only 300?
Yeah, there was only like 365 people or something the last time I looked.
300. This is
Look, here's the deal. Wait, or maybe no, the views might even be. Actually, that's not right. The channel Undo Finance has less followers than our channel. I think they have like 300 some odd followers. The views might even be less for some of these videos. And like I was like the only comment on one of them. Like no one commented.
I saw that.
So I guess I'm just saying is if you guys realize like how small we really are for the people that are giving this stuff attention. And that is something that's like gems of information that was provided during that summit. And so give that attention, don't brush it off. And one more positive thing is, with the regulatory clarity comes the increased institutional adoption, which is what they were talking about doing. That's the whole thing about this partnership with Undo and World Liberty Financial, and what they're aiming to do is bridge that gap and onboard these people. And so when governments regulate the cryptocurrencies, it signals to the traditional finance institutions that these assets are legitimate. They're encouraging banks and investment firms and other institutions then to invest in support crypto-related services, which means if you have a business or whatever, you want to start doing that and onboarding, you're going to be able to be banked. And then it offers confidence for the institutional investors. They want stable and predictable regulatory environment that's going to commit significant capital. If they're gonna put significant capital into these markets, and we've all said for how many years now, when the money comes in, when the big money comes in, this is when we're going to see, right? We've been waiting and waiting and waiting. These are signs now. How long do you think, Brooke? Because when I'm listening to that, you guys listen to it. They sound. I was getting a feeling for like 2 years. They were saying, by 2 years, or the one lady was saying, I don't think it's going to do anything with this first Congress, but maybe next Congress. I'm like, oh, lady, don't say that. Don't say it.
I could see my time frame has always been about 2030. I just have a very long, and that's not very long in the grand scheme of things to see where all this goes. But
5 years.
Yeah,
I've always had 2027 in my head. I don't know why, but right when I first started like getting into this in like 2019, I thought 2027. That was the number that popped in my head. And I'm like, I don't know where the hell it came from, but that's why I don't know why I think that, but I feel like something's going to happen by then.
I did too. I did a multiple timelines. And it's like what to get to what? Like what
right.
Like what is that timeline? Are we talking about all the assets in the world being on chain? No. Are we talking about all it's always going to be a progression from here on out. It's going to be a building. So that's kind of how I see it. Now, regulation and as fast, that is happening faster than I thought would happen. I have people that I know, executives at banks, that told me 4 years ago, this wouldn't happen. Kind of like laughed me and dismissed me. Well, they got a note from the FDIC. Your community, more than likely now, if you talk to an executive at your local community bank who deals with the FDIC and gets the FDIC communication. There's a very close personal person in my life that is one. And he didn't send it directly to me. He sent it to my husband because I think he was a little bit too embarrassed. But he got a letter from the FDIC saying in the coming weeks and months, we'll be looking into digital assets and tokenization and everything that they said wouldn't happen. He's going to be learning in the next few weeks or months. And you're talking about their argument was the banking system's the very last to adopt any technology and we're slow, and if you don't want things to change ever, like that, go into banking is kind of like the thing, right? Um, you might see a lot of people retiring with how fast things are going. They're like, I don't know anything about this. I'm gonna bow out.
Yeah. I was going to say, giving a shout out to Rosemary. She said, thanks for the great conversation. I'm making dinner and listening from the other room. Appreciate you guys. It's like having a room full of friends. That's awesome. Yes. Yeah. Ondo is ONDO finance. And I just posted in the chat a link from a post from Twitter, X. Ondu Finance says, we're excited to announce a strategic collaboration with World Liberty Fi to advance the adoption of tokenized real world assets and bring traditional finance on chain. They're gonna integrate. Oh, this was something I thought, Brooke, that I wanted to talk to you about. And I wrote it down. So World Liberty Financial plans to integrate USDY and OUSG and tokenized securities from Ondu's upcoming global markets that are only available to non-U.S. persons outside the U.S. to the extent legally permitted right now into the World Liberty Financial platform. But what I was saying is the one, I think it is, what did they say? OUSG is going to be on Ripple, and then USDY was on Stellar Network, I think is what I wrote down somewhere. And I think that was part of the Trump Jr. segment. Do you know what I'm talking about when they started talking about that? And I was like, ooh, that's interesting, because what I did notice about this summit, they talked about Bitcoin. They mentioned Ethereum. They talked about Solana. They talked about different chains. They hardly mentioned Ripple or XRP, at all, except for that they had David Schwartz there in one of the segments. And so even still, they kind of still downplay the significant role that I think that XRP Ledger is going to play in all of this, and XRP as a token bridge asset. What do you think about that?
I love I was like, let me back up. I was reading all of this. This is going to be used for this, and this is going to do this. In my brain, my mind was mapping. It was like literally like red stringing how it's all going to use, because I talk about Metcalfe's law and the network effect, correct? So this is like what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a network of networks. So you have Ondu that is built on XRP. And so that is a network of itself. So as Ondu's doing all of its thing, and it's built on.
Pause you. Are you? Yeah. You're saying Ondu Finance is built on XRP Ledger?
They're doing that, some of that on the Ledger. They're doing some other stuff on Stellar's network as well.
Yeah,
that's what I remember.
Yeah, so they're using a bunch of different protocols.
Yes.
But XRP Ledger and Stellar Network are two of them that they're using it.
Yeah, for different, but for different.
Myself real fast.
For different. Oh gosh, dang it! For different pairings that they have, like there's the what is it, the GSY or OGY or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then then they had another one, a different one, or O.
Yep.
OUSD.
OUSG deployment on the XRP Ledger that was on January 28th.
And then there's another one. There's
short-term U.S. government treasuries. That's what that OUSG. That's the tokenized U.S. Treasury fund. And that's on the XRP Ledger, guys. I'm posting this article that I just found. Yeah, this is huge. Like when, and then like I said, the other one, the the oh gosh, the USDY. So I think the USDY that they were putting on the Stellar network is what I think I remember hearing in that summit. And I was like, whoa, this is
Whoa.
I mean, it's just so weird, guys, because like over the past it's in 2019 or whatever, like they're talking about Biddle, right? I can't tell you how many scrap freaking pieces of paper that I had shit written down, Biddle written down, like all these different things. And at the time I'm listening to things and I'm like, I don't exactly know what this is at the time, but I just know I hear it and I'm like, that's going to be something significant. That's going to be something significant. And so I'm like overly excited right now, I guess, because it's all coming together. And this is the cool thing about having a network of friends. And so for the 189 of you that are listening, if you're just joining us at Dip a Toe, welcome to the family, because this is what we do here. And it's so cool to have people that you can bounce your stuff off of. And so it's like, I call Brooke, we're talking, and it's, the next thing she's like, oh, did you hear this? And I'm like, oh, did you hear that? And it all collides together, and we can have these eureka moments at the same time, and it's just super freaking cool.
It's the network effect, right? Again, it's that network effect that we're talking about. It's a powerful, Metcalfe's law is very, very powerful, whether you're talking about a network of friends, a tribe, or blockchain.
So yeah, I mean, and you nail it with that, because that's exactly what happens.
So as you're, on dues doing this with tokenized treasuries over here, it's doing this over here. It's a network effect, right? So as it's using it, it's going to burn a little bit of that XLM. It's going to burn a little bit of that XRP. It's going to, and so then you have XRP that's doing this over here, and it needs to bridge between this, and it's the network effect. It's a network of networks, and it's built, and the value is going to derive off of the use case, off of the tokenomics that run.
Utility, baby.
Utility. This is what we have to have, these regulations. We have to have what is happening right now with the framework of our government come in for utility run. I think that's kind of what we're getting at here. There's a lot that has to happen in order for utility to go. But once it goes, I think it's going to go.
I do too. I don't see it being like, I do see it being like a shot up. Now it might shot up and then kind of level out and do what it does.
Shut up.
Everybody talks about the flip of the shot through the heart. Everybody talks about like the flip of the switch type thing. But I mean, you get enough regulatory clarity and institutional funds coming in. That's going to be pretty significant, I think.
It's what we've been waiting for. I knew my bag, the tokens that I invest in and hold, which are utility, I know will not reach the price points that I'm looking for and that I'm expecting until this happens. So we're right there.
Yeah, we're just waiting and waiting and waiting. The other positive things that happen, which we don't like to talk about taxes, but another thing is the tax compliance. So what are the tax guidelines that ensures that gains from cryptocurrencies, will they be taxed to increase government revenues? Are they not going to be taxed like Trump says, so because we know the whole world is moving to digital assets and cryptocurrencies, I don't think that you mentioned something. I didn't really get to circle back on it when you talked about the dollar. The U.S. dollar is not going to go away, right? And it, and those of you that have listened to Trump over the years, he freaking said it. He's been saying it, that it's not. And there for a while, I thought like that the dollar was going to go away and all, these things. I've kind of evolved in my thinking when it comes to that. And I realize like we need a strong dollar. Every country needs their own currency, or they can still continue to use the dollar. And it seems like a lot of countries are still using the dollar. And so it's possible that we don't lose that, that position.
Yeah.
But it's going to
I
be much better what it is now for other countries, because I don't like us dominating. I don't think it's good that we dominate everything, but that's just my opinion.
so I think the dollar as we know it, like the dollar itself,
Yeah.
that's no, it's not going away, but it definitely, I shouldn't say definitely, it more than likely won't be the same dollar as we know it today. Again, the headwinds that in the financial situation that that Biden was in, and those haven't gone away because Trump's now president.
Right.
The financial like situations have been decades in the making. And that unwinding, I still still has to happen, but I think that they have the solution here. Think about stable coins. What backs a stable coin? Most of the time, it's your treasuries, and it's your short. A lot of them will back it with short, the short end of the curve treasuries. So your shorter duration current treasuries. Now, you have a whole nother buyer of treasury bonds in the market. Now, what would typically collapse the currency in the position of debt and what this monetary system has grown to, what you would see in a crisis, what you're kind of seeing, are countries selling their treasury bonds at the exact same time that we are printing bonds. And so you have this oversupply of treasuries onto the market with a decreasing demand. But we have a completely new demand in the market, which are now stable coins. So that is something that when they talk about that the new system will secure, like make sure it's still a thing to use in the future, I think that is the route how they're going to do that. I still think that we shift from fiat to a gold metal commodity backed standard. Trump is open to that. He's talked openly about that, and the problems that come down his pike, he might have to consider a move like that. So, in terms of monetary history, the next few years will be extremely interesting. I'm keeping a pulse on it. So,
Yeah. I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are once you grasp everything, because some of that stuff does confuse me a bit. I was listening to somebody, they were I don't even remember, I listened to so many different conferences and stuff, but they were talking about the like inflation, and when when certain things happen, it gives the opposite effect of what you would think. But because of us going into this new age, it might actually offset some of that. And so, we might not see our prices go sky high, and, as interest rates come down and things like that, like, yeah. What?
but we still
Tell
have,
it.
well, then we aren't even talking, or very few people talk about the animosity right now between the current president and the Federal Reserve Chairman Powell. He was just recently asked this past week. He was testifying in front of Congress in their biannual like check that they do, and they grill him. But Maxine Waters, who just please retire.
Yeah.
That talk about like it's
I can't
painful to
even
listen to
believe that
people.
she is the finance chair. I was shocked when she
Oh,
got chose for that
heavens.
role.
Like, is it any? How do these people get these jobs? All that to say, she asked him like, "Are you still like if Trump wants you to leave? Are you going to?" You said earlier that you wouldn't. He was like, "No." We could see kind of very different type of war, if you will, between um, our presidency, our executive branch, and our unconstitutional Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Mm-hmm.
if you listen, I'm going to make a video about it. I'm going to post it up on TikTok because after he said, "Nope, my plans from that haven't changed," and she said, and I have it on recording. She said, basically, you have power that even lies outside of the Constitution. Like, Constitution can't even touch you. And I'm like, and there's our problem.
Exactly. That's the problem, Maxine.
You just said the quiet part out loud. You dementia-ridden woman. Like, go. Like,
But
please.
don't you think that do you ever think sometimes that these people are playing roles like they are giving us this information and are they trying to see if we know this or not, or
No,
I mean, like,
Maxine Waters, before she said any of that, she goes, "We need to have people understand how important the central bank system is." And I was just like, "Oh, sister, this
uh,
is where we get whenever we don't
yeah.
study our forefathers and the warnings that they had." Because Thomas Jefferson had a very different opinion about central banks than Maxine Waters up there. They warned us about it. They made it unconstitutional. It is the lack of education and understanding money and banking and how it can just screw up everything in your life in the wrong hands of the wrong people. So yeah, it was a very interesting week.
I did miss that one. That's in my marked to listen to. Atlantic Living has a question for you. You want to read that,
Mhm.
Ben?
Yeah, this is coming from Mr. Atlantic Living here. Brooke, I was curious why Kathy Woods and Larry Fink have not filed for ETFs. Thoughts? And then there's more to it. Do you believe the XRP ETF for Grayscale will be approved tomorrow?
I believe that an an ETF will be approved tomorrow. Who
Yeah.
knows? That would be amazing. I'm not sure though. I personally think that we won't see an ETF until the lawsuit. As far as
Oh,
what you mean is finally. I
Yeah.
think that they're just drawing that out because they're waiting for.
yeah. I don't
So
know what
then
he's
it's waiting.
talking.
What are they waiting for?
Is he saying not filed for an XRP ETF? Is that what you're saying, Atlantic? Is that what you think he's meaning? For meaning?
Yeah.
Because they
Uh,
filed, because they have the Bitcoin ETF. I believe there's an
Yeah.
mhm.
Ethereum ETF.
There's
So
an Ethereum one.
possibly
Yeah, XRP.
you have to wonder, everyone tiptoes around mentioning Ripple and XRP.
Man, do they
Tyler,
ever? It's wild,
that should tell you a lot, I think.
right?
I don't know if BlackRock or I have a sinking suspicion that they will. They're gonna let Grayscale initiate some of these ETFs first, and they'll hop on board
Yeah.
ultimately. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I'm looking for in an ETF. You also have to realize you're not buying the underlying asset when you
You're
buy an
not buying
ETF.
the real thing,
They
baby.
rehypothecate it. Yes.
They
Isn't it?
rehypothecation. Yeah.
Isn't that what they do? I learned that word. I learned that word.
It's a fun word.
Yeah.
So you will owe, like, you'll be able to trade it and get exposure to it, but it's the financial entity that will hopefully own that asset on the
Yeah.
back end. So
That's
just so you know.
I mean, that's the whole key of it. And this is one thing that I think about, like, when it comes to Bitcoin, what I like for the Bitcoin people that own a lot of Bitcoin, they're going to be just fine, right? The average person that doesn't own any Bitcoin, when you realize, like, we're championing these ETFs and that, but like you said, Brooke, the institution that's going to sell you that, and I don't know if I'm calling it if institution is the right name for it, but where you're going to buy the ETF, buy into the ETF, they're going to own the underlying asset, right? And it's going to forever be locked in there. The more that they rehypothecate and the scarcity grows, the more the price is going to go up. And so these institutions that hold this Bitcoin for these ETFs, they're going to have lots of money worth of Bitcoin that they're going to dole out to you, that you're going to buy an interest in, basically, and you're going to make little pieces of it. So it's like, get your Bitcoin now, like, but the supporting of doing the ETFs, like, everyone's super excited about it. Why? Because the person that owns Bitcoin now, it's going to make the value of their Bitcoin go up, right?
It's that adoption. The more people that you have buying it, needing it, using it, the Metcalfe's law, the more a node is used, the higher the value. So
That's right. And think about that just for a moment, what just was said right now. If you're watching this live, hit pause, rewind about 4.5 minutes. Institutions have the underlying asset. That's called the real thing.
Huh?
Then what they get to do is rehypothecate. That's called make a bunch of copies. Here's the play. They hold the real thing. They make copies based on regulatory legislation and etc. Rules of saying, hey, y'all can make only X amount of copies per underlying asset that you hold. Okay. So let's say there's a rule that says for every 1 Bitcoin that you hold, Mr. BlackRock, you may make 100,000 copies of that whole Bitcoin. But you may also take it down to the 8th decimal like you can over in the real world. Great. So if the spot price of the real asset is $100,000, but yet I can make 100,000 copies and sell them at $100,000, my question to you, smart people with a calculator right now in your hands, how much is 1 Bitcoin really worth? $100,000 times 100,000 copies plus 1. That's how much that Bitcoin is really worth. Now, if they can do it, by Joe, some way, somehow, we can do it. All my XRPers out there, you are holding the underlying assets. If there's an ETF, great. You have the thing that nobody else has except for the people in the club. Now, you might not like the people in the club. That's okay. There's rappers that go to the same club. They don't like each other either. That's all right, but they still go to the club. So you have the underlying asset, and now you can find a way into the club. And now you can do what they do at a micro level.
that's
Pay attention.
powerful.
Don't
Powerful.
let go of your assets. Maybe a little bit here and there, but if there's a way for you to copy like they copy and do what they do, let them be the first one down the field. You watch how they run with the ball, how they throw the ball. You do the same thing in your backyard, and ain't nobody going to come over to your house and try to play football because you own the field.
Yeah. Or you create your own type of financial institution. You create your own financial.
That's right. You create your own. Exactly.
I mean, you do know that the creator of Prosper, I think it's Prosper, is what's his name? Chris Larson. So he already, like, years ago, created the lending, where you're, peer lending platform, Prosper. And so if you can think about, that's already been created. Now, so the groundwork is already laid. Now think about being able to lend your XRP, your interest in your XRP value, to somebody else, right? It's like, it's powerful. Like, you guys thinking, so I don't know about you, but sometimes do you ever think to yourself, like, what the hell am I doing? I'm like, everybody else is, watching TV shows and doing this and that and stuff. And it's like, I'm missing out. And then I come in, I'm like, hell no, because I'm friends with the coolest people on the internet with the XRP.
Do you do this? I just have a question for both you ladies. Okay. Two questions. Actually. First, do either of you still watch a form of shows, TVs, movies, etc. from time to time?
Say it again.
Do you guys watch, like, Netflix? Do you watch Hulu? Do you watch anything like that?
Yeah. Every once in a while, yeah.
Okay. Now, roll with me. Do you turn on the show and start watching, and then you do this?
Yep.
And start looking
Ryan
at
gets mad at me.
An article or some Twitter post that's crypto related.
Or I go this step further and I have my headphones in my ears, so I'm listening and pretending, and I cover my hair.
Do one to one,
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I'm like watching the movie, but I'm really not watching it. Yeah.
Never. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No,
we don't.
I am there with my man.
Right.
And it's just me and him.
And my kids, and I'm
oh my gosh, save that for later.
I'm out to dinner.
Here talking to me, and
Mommy, mom.
Especially snowed in recently. That's how I am. I'm always. This is fun for me. Again, like.
Right.
This is whenever I have to do other things, I'm like, can I go do my research? Can I go there's always something. Can I go learn? It's a condition.
It is really funny though, if you think back, like when you're in high school or college, having to study for something, and you're just like, oh, I gotta read this or whatever. And me now, I'm like constantly absorbing, anything I get my hands on, or I'm listening, and I'm trying to put things together. And it's like, who the hell are you, man? Like I don't know. It's funny. And even just trying to compare myself with somebody else that I know that's like my same age, well, actually before I came up here to do the show, Ryan was making me do karaoke downstairs, and he was having me sing some song where it was like, we have differences, I can see that you've changed, old friend, we've changed or whatever. And I was like, well, damn, isn't that the truth? Right. So like anybody in high school is like, they're probably just like, Missy's into Missy, like Missy's an accountant. What? Missy knows about crypto. Missy knows about finance. They would have never guessed in a million years,
I know it's crazy where it leads you. And now, and I have the added benefit of living on a farm homestead. And so I am not only like this weird, like, person that talks technology and digital assets. Whenever you're removed from like the normal world and you don't have a real job, it's so funny. And Toasty and a few others can attest to this. I'm weird. It's why the farmer that walks into town is the way that he is. They're like, why is he so strange? And he's Farmer Joe, and that's just Farmer Joe. It's because like you live in this world that's so separate, right. And then I am walking back into it with, both of it, and I'm just like, I don't have an agenda. I'm here to like, hey, there's so much of this world that happens. And yeah, when you unmask, I guess, it's fun.
It
People look
is.
at you weird. Um, and it's all I want to talk about sometimes. It's a problem.
It is a problem. I know. That's why I'm so thankful for all of you guys. So it's like
You
you
know,
understand. If I just can just like you say Ondo Summit, I'm like, what are you talking about? And oh, World Liberty Financial, and you're like, oh my God, really? And like what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. And other
Yes.
people are just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, oh, is that a Trump thing? I don't want to hear anything to do with Trump. And I'm like, okay, I'm just talking about crypto, man. I'm not talking about Trump.
I know.
Huh?
I know.
It-
It's really interesting. I remember uh you know, growing up listening to talk radio like on the drive home, you know. I mean, it's still there, but I think at least
oh,
back in my teenage
Darla,
years,
Darla, we
you
love
know.
you,
Oh,
Darla.
what's good, Darla? Darla. I used to be fascinated with just the business talk radio. You know, I was fascinated with that because there was always like this flicker of structure and how these talking heads would talk about what they see of what that company could or could not do. And here we are now, 2.0 of this, right?
Yeah.
We're the new money talks.
Wall
You know,
Street
as
2.0.
yeah, well, we're the new Wall Street 2.0. You know, people will be listening to, arguably are right now are listening to us, and they will probably one up us in being a talking head, so to speak. But you know,
Yeah.
from a grassroots perspective of, hey, this is how this works in this area, in this industry, such and such. It's to the degree to where Brooke one day will be able to go to fellow farmers in the community and go, I saw this law that came out. Do you guys know what this means for you? Because I've been in this space
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of your space for about 10 years now.
Yep.
Let me show you how you can capitalize on this and not get screwed like you guys have been screwed this whole time, personal guarantees, etc. Right? So, you know, now that it's in their face, I can just really see us where we feel isolated. It's like, oh, my crypto friends, hooray! You know, and we're excited, right? Because we know the ongoing, the who's who. It's like back in the day when Melissa was in high school, when I was in junior high. Everybody talked about the show Friends. That, you know, whatever it was like, oh, do you think Joey's gonna do this? And what about da-da-da? It's like everybody knew, like that was the talk at lunch,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now here it is. We're the crypto talk, but we are going to be bringing that value to our communities at some point. They will come to us. And I know, Brooke, you've had a few vindicating stories that you've shared with us where you were poo-pooed, but then it was like, hey, can you teach me about this?
Can you
I'm
tell me
really
a little bit
sorry,
of something?
but can you? I'm really sorry. And honestly, I tip my hat to those that at least have the courage to come back to other people and say, hey, I was wrong, and now I'm totally going to ask you a favor. Would you be so kind
Look
as
who's
to
in
teach
the
me?
house.
Wow, Farmer John!
God.
You want to talk about a
Another
farmer that knows
Farmer John.
crypto? That'd be another
Farmer
one.
John.
Yep.
That
Farmer
is
John in the house.
awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Well, you guys, this show did not go exactly as planned. As
Sorry. You know how
that
we
is
do,
the
off the
way
rails.
of the Dipper show. We mostly talked about the positives, but I guess there's we did kind of touch on some underlying negatives when it comes to it, and you know, and I mean, really, that's just we need to stay vigilant and continue giving. We miss you too, Farmer John. we need to keep giving this our attention and try to teach people that are interested in learning. I have kind of cooled my jets a bit on trying to inspire like people that don't want to be inspired. Like I've come to the realization that everybody has their own journey and their own eyes to see. And when they're ready to see something, they will. Otherwise, it's like, doing something for somebody and they never learn to do it themselves type of thing. And I can't give you my oil. Like you have to have your own oil. You have to have your own desire to learn and grow, but just know that there's a whole big world out here waiting for you. And if you're ready to dip a toe, come join our family, hang out with us on Wednesday nights. We have fantastic people like Brooke that are knowledgeable. You guys, we have so many people that were in the chat tonight. There's 203 people watching. We love you all. Sorry if we didn't, normally we like to shout out everybody. I feel like I missed a bunch of people. Tiara, Scotty J's in the house. Who else? Atlantic Living. I just feel like we missed so many people that were chatting, but it was kind of hard. Sing for Jesus is here. Rosemary, of course. We love Rosemary. Who else did I say? Optimistic Prime is in the house. Crypto
Scotty
Christie,
J.
Matt Riley. We said hi to Toasty. But it's Susan Roblin, Florida Man Landscaping. I forgot that he was in here too. We just really appreciate you guys coming and chatting. And I mean, this conversation could go on until midnight Eastern Standard Time.
I was gonna say, yeah, it probably could on the West Coast for sure. We can go to midnight. I'm down. You want to do another 5 hours, dude? I got you right now. Let's go,
Ice, baby. No school tomorrow.
I'm telling
you got snow day.
I'm looking outside and there's about, I don't know, a couple of inches on my window ledge right now. So I might be staying. I did bring my computer home, so I won't have to drive in if I don't want to.
You know, it'd be really cool. I think you should go to ChatGPT, okay? Ask Chat to create you an AI agent, okay? And then you can have the AI agent connect to your computer. All you got to do is turn it on, and then the AI agent will answer like little emails, do short responses.
Oh.
So it gives you the appearance that
I'm working.
When it's really you are. You're watching Chat work. Chat's your assistant.
I like that idea.
That's a thing. Yeah,
I hope my boss is not watching this.
If your boss is watching, you just got a freebie of how they too could appear to be working hard like they do every day.
You know who we had, Dr. Artur on from XP Market.
Love Artura.
He's fantastic. They're hiring. I almost applied, but I was like, I don't know.
What were they hiring?
Maybe you should apply. Yeah, they're hiring. I don't know if it's a community engagement or a community manager or something like that. Yeah, man. But yeah, they're taking resumes. So those of you out there,
resume.
Yeah. And I have something to plug real fast.
Plug it, girl. Plug it.
Yeah. Plug.
Next week, Jake Claver and a few of his crew are coming to Oklahoma City and putting on an event.
That's awesome.
It's going to be a digital asset dinner, and guess where it's taking place?
Right down the street.
Your house.
My farm.
Your farm.
No, it is going to be. There's this gorgeous 1930s bank that failed. And it's called First National.
Yeah, First National Bank.
Yeah, and it's in the vault underneath. They turned into a bar.
How cool!
And so we are going to talk about the future of money in a bank vault.
That's cool.
And
I like
so if you're in the Oklahoma City area, the tickets, they are on my X page. Brooke Odyssey is where you can find me. There's a Luma event. There's only 40 spots available, and we've
Oh,
already
wow.
sold like 20. So
Oh,
it is
boy.
a limited event. The dinner's included. You get some drinks and education and networking. I'll be there. So it should be fun.
Ooh, that sounds like
Brooke,
a fun
do you have
time.
the ability to do comments within StreamYard? Can you do comments and just put your info in there?
I can. It would be hard.
Okay. Hold on,
Yeah, I can't really.
We can,
we can
It's on
do
my
it.
page. Okay. If you want
yeah.
to attach it too, that's fine.
Sure. Let me.
Yeah, you're going to do it,
Let's-
Simon?
I'm trying to do it. I got.
You do it.
You know me. There's always some market movement over here on the screen where I'm like, ooh, what's that doing? What's that doing? What's that doing? All the time. It's you. I can relate to you, Brooke,
Wandering
when you
eyes.
say I have a problem. It's like I definitely have a problem, but I love my problem. It is the coolest problem. to
It's
have.
the coolest
And
problem.
I'm okay with my problem. Some people are foodies, other people are
me.
neat freaks. I am a cryptopian. That's what
I
I
have
do.
lots
I eat.
of problems.
Yeah. Oh, you are a foodie and a neat freak too? Wow. Okay. Overachiever. I'm looking on X to see if I can just navigate that way.
But yeah, if you can't find it, I'll try to also pin it on my X page. So I would love to meet people within
put it
my
on your
own.
X
So I
page
do have a
so I can drop it.
community. It is. Yeah, it's there.
Okay,
if
cool,
you
cool.
Go there, just copy it. Yeah.
Copy that.
Well, let's do some final thoughts here
Okay.
and close
for
her
it.
down. What are your final thoughts, Brooke? We're so blessed that you came with us to discuss this tonight. It was an awesome conversation. I'm thankful that you told me about the Undo Summit so that I could have something to listen to all day today. Thoroughly excited and was interested in it. But what are your final thoughts of the evening?
Man, I always like to leave on like, do you realize where we're at in this whole thing? How big it is, and you're at the beginning. Every asset will go on chain and be transacted across these payment rails. It's massive. The opportunities are enormous. The more education you have, the better off you'll be, the more opportunities that you will have. I cannot express enough to really research, really understand, like Echo says, know what you hold. That's key. Education and understanding what this is, the opportunities, you will benefit from it for sure. So dig into that research, trust your gut, and yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Yeah, we loved
you guys
it
so much.
such a great conversation.
So glad we were able to get you on the show. Just you. I mean, anytime I've seen you on the ladies' nights panels, you've been on. I think 4. This is time number 5 collectively now. It's like, man, dude, we gotta get Brooke on just solo, man. She's soft spoken, but man, when she talks, she's talking truth, knowledge, and the delivery. Everybody, it resonates. I could see it. So glad you were able to make. You were able to make time for us out of your busy snow day.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
The interaction's great.
Awesome.
Were those your final thoughts, Simon?
Oh, my final thought. Well,
no,
you know, my mouth never. My mouth never shuts up unless there's being knowledge talked about, and then I just like, I'll write that down. Yeah. Final thoughts. Think, grow, keep dipping that toe.
Oh, yes. So you got it so crafted, huh? Think, grow, keep dipping that toe. I just want to say, I love you all. I'm so proud of you. Be proud of yourself. Have confidence in yourself. Keep asking those questions. Know that you can do it. What you don't know, other people do. And so, join our community here. Come back next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Dip a Toe Show. follow us on YouTube and Twitter at Dip a Toe, and we're YouTube and Rumble at Dip a Toe, and on Twitter we're at Dip a Toe Show. Or you can follow Simon and I. I'm at World Be Free 888 on X, and Simon is at Simon Says _ crypto. So you can follow us there to continue the conversation. But yeah, definitely don't underestimate the power that you hold. And together we are just unstoppable. And so again, I'm really proud of you guys for giving this your attention. And I thank you so much for watching Dip a Toe Show, and come back next week on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, because we are having Niall and Rob Nichols back from IMU TV. They're going to come share some updates, including us being on IMU TV now. We're going to have a couple other recording artists join the show again. So we'll have some live music again next week. So it should be pretty darn cool, if I don't say so myself. But until next week, I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the day, and we will see you next time. Have a good rest of the night.